Hello, everybody. This is important. How did we get to a journey from Frankenstein medicine to deceptive and fraudulent practices on not just our children, but our people? Our children are the prey, and of course, what could go wrong when you have all this happening? The Federal Trade Commission has determined and created an investigation after a lot of research and 7.5 hours of what you would call a seminar with some of the most respected people in the industries, whether it be doctors, lawyers, nurses, therapists, practitioners of all kinds, who have been screaming for years. I'm going to read you excerpts from a letter I wrote and posted on all my emails. I'm going to start with this. Never in my 75 years could you have prepared me or told me that one day our society would be using outright lies and deceptive practices in our medical arenas, our mental arenas, our mental health, and therapy, and all kinds of manipulation of language in government, in education, and in the legislation that is then subsequently passed, tied into all of this. How does this happen? Well, how have we allowed our parents and children to become victims of our schools and our medical world to justify massive fraud, butchery without real verifiable evidence nor any responsibility to be borne, period? I mean, none. Thousands of children have now been irreversibly butchered, amputated with healthy body parts, chemically altered, and further mentally and socially transformed, and often without parental consent or permission. Why, and finally, is the Federal Trade Commission conducting this investigation into over 400 facilities, hospitals, clinics, and organizations, and more mental health people, doctors, who have sold our society and our innocent parents, children, and other adults with a deceptive and fraudulent multi-billion-dollar industry filled with ideology, filled with lies, social contagion. It's not a medical virus, it's a mental virus, and false studies that go back all the way to John Money and the botched study where the kids he experimented on have taken their lives, but it was a lie, as are the articles of faith and any of the premises of all these organizations that are out there promising to gender affirm, which is really not. It's terrible. We're going to keep going. What happened to do no harm? Well, the FTC, that's capital FTC.org. Go there. You can watch any part of the 7.5 hour video that they did on the dangers of gender affirming care to minors, etc. And the doctors, Dr. Miriam Grossman and many others, Erin Friday, the attorney who had to fight for her child, and so many other incredible people. And the initial panel are all detransitioning kids or youth and older people who went through a nightmare and told their stories. This is something every American needs to see, and that includes, of course, the president, the government, and we, the parents and grandparents. I'm going to read parts of this. When was it okay for a therapist to put children into a trans trajectory rather than address the mental and physical experience that may be giving them concerns and trauma? Why is everyone afraid to say how many youth trans are shooting up schools, which is in the news right now, right? It's been a large number. Could it be no one wants to discuss the drugs the antidepressants, the puberty blockers, the cross-sex hormones that come after the social transitioning. You get their mind, then you get the chemical, then you rip off the body. Could it be the horrible toll and damage to their bodies, their minds, and now irreversible things? Could it be guilt trips they put on the parents to accept the guidelines of the never-ending horrors and butchery of gender-affirming care, which is nothing more than mutilation, amputation of healthy human beings, children as well. And then a lifetime of fake parts, synthetic drugs, and pain and medicine. Can you see the money, ding, 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 ticking? What about the families and lives that are torn apart by false doctrine? Could it be many tools of indoctrination online and other social things? In other words, there's apps, there's places kids can go, and what happens there is they brainwash them. These children, many times who are most vulnerable to being indoctrinated, have been raped, molested, traumatized, beat, abused in multiple ways, if not also trafficked. And it's been so painful to see this because we're attacking the wrong thing. The trans individuals and the parents are not really the enemy. They're the victims of these ideologies that are just destroying an entire culture. This is no accident. This is on purpose. And the legislations that are being put in many of the states that are ultra liberal destroy all parental rights, destroy everything we have, and they can take your children out of your home, put them in a more receptive home where the people could be either trans, LGBTQ, or in some way, even pedophiles who have somehow snuck by the system, gotten credentials either for foster care or actual therapists. Well, that's not exactly neutrality. And then they force the parents to go one way. You can only put them in affirming care. You can't explore all the other mental things that are wrong with that human being, which could be the reason. 95% or more of the people that go through puberty would get through it fine. And most of them are going to come out the other end until you have all of this intervention and this criminal multi-billion-dollar crime of the history of time. It is just epic how horrible it is. And we, the parents, are the ones that are criminalized if we don't affirm the care. What the heck is that about? Why don't we have advocacy of counselors who are neutral and aren't forced to put one direction in? Hospitals, when the kid comes in and maybe he's tried to kill himself or she, all they do is affirm. They don't even look at all the other things. They push the parents away. Courts push the parents away and give those kids to sick people who then continue the whole thing. Let me read you something else I put in here, which breaks my heart. First of all, I want to tell you, they've used language which now goes into the government, the legislature, the schools. Everywhere you go, this is used to further brainwash the masses and keep the schools teaching curricula from K through 12. And that includes porn books, library books that mess with the kids' minds, hypersexualization way too early. It's horrible, and we have to stop it. A lot of us went to school boards, city council, commissioners, library boards. We begged, we wrote. I wrote on like 128 bills this year to the legislature, which in Colorado is very gulag left-leaning and has passed bills to take away the rights of parents, to take away the right to have insurance deny what is really plastic surgery or elective procedures as opposed to mandatory. So they passed that the taxpayers have to pay for all of this, but yet people who are wanting to leave the trans world, nobody gets coverage, by the insurance company. Nobody gets coverage of any kind. You're on your own. Nobody tracks how many of those young people committed suicide. The studies are so horribly wrong and twisted because of the, again, multi-billion-dollar industries. It's so bad that the FTC, which is a consumer protection agency for we the people, has initiated this because they can stop any organizations and the over 400 hospitals and clinics and more, including Planned Parenthood, which doesn't give full care. It just does specifics like abortions and trans procedures and basically helps to kill and mutilate people. These all need to be stopped, and only a group that's the federal government that can show how all this is deceptive and fraudulent, because the chemicals destroy irrevocably and in many cases render people totally sterile for one, but pain and growth issues with the spine, with the brain, body reactions, all kinds of things. But nobody tells you that. So that's deceptive right from the start, and a lifetime of horror. But now let me go to this paragraph. I want to read you this because it's so important to me. Hold on, I'm getting a little funny here. Will you listen to the huge group of detransitioning youth and adults who are telling the truth about the nightmares they experienced, were coerced into, including many breast amputations, genital mutilations, and much more? All the while, the butchers have become very rich. Will it surprise you that these pseudo-professionals did not track the kids after the butchery and cannot even give real data as to what happens after and how many really committed suicide as a result or other, obviously harm? Will they tell you that most of these children experienced rapes, molestation, trauma, and all of this, which I have mentioned to you? Now, I got to find my paragraph, and I apologize. I guess it's on the first page. We love our kids. We don't want them indoctrinated. We don't want them indoctrinated by the apps online through the schools that are not just giving them false hope, a friend because they've been traumatized, and then that person is maybe a trafficker or another groomer, and I'm here for you. They give them all false hope. Then they data mine them, and millions and billions is made in the country on data mining your children through the apps at schools. And that doesn't help at all. All right. I was removed from District 49 School Board because I was there in protest of the curricula, that they have for K through 12 on SEL, DEI, and CRT. And they said I heckled the lawyer because I wanted one of the school board members to get a lawyer because they were attacking her. But the main thing was we were trying to bring awareness to this school and all the schools in Colorado about the grooming of the counselors. Nobody is getting the picture. The counselors are doing this. They are doing this all over, and it's tragic. Now let's go to the people that were harmed. Will you be like the parents who had their daughter removed from their home due to not affirming the gender lies, and the courts put her in a trans-friendly home and there were two men even, where they were subsequently trafficked her? Or the girl also removed to a supposed like-minded trans environment, she ended up jumping in front of a train. These people were abused in the foster care they were sent to, and the courts refused to give the parents, any help. They said, well, the parents are bad, they won't affirm, they're no good. And this is happening in places all over the country because they're ignoring the presidential executive orders. They're ignoring humanity, God, and what's right and decency. And their stories, PITT, Parents with Inconvenient Truths About Trans. This is one book that started, and this organization has been making us aware of the harm to the parents. Parents are just as much the victims when they protect their child, when they know their child has been fine, but somebody gets to these children. Or maybe the child was molested and nobody knows. But that doesn't give some counselor the right to say, you need to be in another body. You know, you're a boy in a girl's body. All of this is happening. One of the most incredible and respected people, Dr. Miriam Grossman, Lost in Trans Nation. I hope you can see this. She has for decades been warning and counseling and helping parents and people. Here's another one. This is just to show you this is going on. Julie Bailing and James Lindsay have been educating us. Alvin Louis, Courage is a Habit. And here's one. Do you remember Scott Nugent screaming? A beautiful, healthy woman with 3 children did a complete trans business because of a partner wanting it and other reasons. All medical issues this poor young man has are nightmares. I remember when this came out, No Way Back. Chloe Cole is one of the most well-known detransitioners. Oh, and we have this. Whose children are they in Colorado? The Floras put this together. There's much more. Abigail Schreier, that book I don't have in front of me, but Abigail Schreier, another wonderful woman showing the damages of affirming care / mutilation. And there's many, many more organizations. In Colorado, we have Protect Kids Colorado and Colorado Parent Advocacy Network. PKC, CPAN, you can find them. All these people are attempting to wake up the parents, the schools. We've written to all these places and begged them to stop the process of this curricula, which was put together by many very wealthy billionaires, and they rolled it right through to the WHO, the UN, MAPS programs, Cassell companies, SEL, related. Why are schools in the business of giving mental health and chemicals to our children? Why aren't they just teaching academics? And SECUS and WPATH and many of the other organizations, Inside Out, One Colorado, they're all affirming and trying to convince kids that it's okay. Look, we don't hate the trans children or the trans adults or any of the people that are trying to understand where their bodies go, but we do want medical and chemical and mental responsibility to the people doing this without real science. This isn't science. This is mental contagion. This is voodoo practice. This is bad stuff happening to young people who are more suffering after the fact, and they're not telling all that, or even the suicides, or even anything else. There's no real true reporting anymore in the medical industry. When the Association of American Pediatrics okays all this butchery based on 30 people panel telling 66,000 people this is okay, and they never based it on real evidence. It wasn't evidentiary. It was all mental, ideological bull hockey. And we, the parents, have been forced to eat this. Until the public schools quit doing all this, they shouldn't be allowed to do anything. The communist unions preaching communism instead of a free society. What is like upside down, bizarro world. We have to stop this. And I know this is a little bit long video, but every parent needs to see this and get involved and stop it right here. I'll read you. I'm not going to give you all the names. There's so many. The Starbucks did a movie, The War on Children. Matt Walsh, What is a Woman, and many others. And then, Aaron Lee and Art Club. Then there's the College of American Pediatricians, who have come out with statements along with the other physician groups. And then you had whistleblowers like Jamie Reed, Sarah Stockton, and many others. Chloe Cole told her whole story. A young girl, and they did have her amputate her breasts and do chemicals. And they weren't honest about any of the impacts. And they don't give you open door outs. You know, maybe you should wait till you're a full grown adult and know the medical issues. Talk to other detransitioners. There's a group, thanks to Pitt and others, PITT, that I think they have like 47,000 people in the group. They're not all detransitioners. Maybe their parents, relatives, but they're fighting back. But you have to have the law and the government on your side. And right now, other than the executive orders the president is doing, we're having to fight state by state. We won a few amicuses, Nashville and others. Thank goodness. I think there was one book, Rich Guggenheim wrote, Escaping the Rainbow Plantation. And he fought in our legislature here in Colorado, and he was with GAG. A lot of gay people don't approve of mutilating children or doing these things, but they get maligned by the new LGBTQ movement, that wants to make everybody justice warriors and nasty and angry. When you are given chemicals constantly, you get grouchy, you get unpredictable. There are, 8 or 9 now trans shootings. And I blame the person, yes, but I blame the people who have either literally brainwashed them mentally. MK Ultra is happening, mind control, and chemicals that put them off whack. And then they get into this and they get used because they want to disarm all of the law-abiding people too. But it's way bigger than that. This is utilizing innocent people. And I don't think this is right because many of our families have been impacted, and it breaks my heart because it shouldn't be happening. It's not easy for people to speak up and share and protect others from the damages done to them. There are so many detransition groups, like I told you, and young people who have been caught up in this web of deceit because they're in pain, and the people that they are being scooped up by are just users. Traffickers go on sites and pretend to be their age. Sextortion. I've taken some training in trafficking too, and all of this fits into one big nasty package that sterilizes, mutilates an entire culture, Western civilization, Europe, Australia, America, Canada, everywhere it's happening. It's horrific and it's wrong. And I'm hoping that every one of you will consider making a submission if you have a relative who has been harmed in any way by this false indoctrination, and go to ftc.org. Look at any part of that dangers of gender, and then write in a story of your experience. They want to communicate this in the study because it's going to take a big effort to stop this. And do the research. Look at some of the sources I gave you, and just say no to the schools. Have them stop all of this. The schools right now are at the tip of the spear of damage. And they've been so indoctrinated that they are doing damage to our children. The public schools, I'm speaking of mostly, but I don't know how many charters also do this. Gammy Sparkles here on Rumble. I'm Gammy Sparkles. Jeannie Rush, Colorado Springs. We fight for our children to the death. I mean, they're taking them to the death. Why can't we protect them and our future? I hope you'll watch this and read some of these sources and get into the schools, the commissioners, the city councils, everywhere, and say no more, please.